As you guys know, my female green iguana laid 18 unfertile eggs. And if you don't know that, go check out that video because I literally show her laying the eggs. And because they were obviously infertile because she's never been with a male, and on top of that, she laid them from her basking area because she's a new mom and she does not know what she's doing. Or not really a mom, but you know what I mean. She's new to laying eggs and stuff. And because of those things, I knew they were infertile and I knew they weren't, there was no purpose in trying to incubate them or anything. I took a couple and I fed them to my bearded dragon. Now, bearded dragons they're omnivorous, so they can eat things like eggs, I believe, and it's pretty common for people to feed them chicken eggs. But here is my bearded dragon, Richard, and I'm trying to feed him one of the infertile green iguana eggs because I told you guys that I had done that in the last video, but I didn't film it. So I'm trying to film it here, but he would not take it for some reason. I brought him down to the floor because I generally feed him on the floor, and he just would not eat it. So I put him back into his enclosure and I stopped filming for some reason because it's really hard to like film him while he's in his enclosure. And then I go to try to feed him the egg, and of course he eats it off camera. So then I finally get him eating some yolk, but that's pretty much it. So he did eat both of the other green iguana eggs that I had saved for him. I cleaned them up and then I put them into the refrigerator, but he just wouldn't eat them on camera for some reason. So I do have him eating some yolk, and I think that's pretty neat, but unfortunately I don't have any footage of him eating the actual egg. But I did have to show him the yolk for him to eat the egg, so that's pretty interesting. And it doesn't seem to have blocked him up at all or anything like that, or it hasn't made him stop eating or anything. So I think that feeding them to him was completely fine, and I'm pretty sure that that's all right to do. Obviously that would never happen in the wild, but it is kind of a possibility in a way because bearded dragons, I'm sure they experience other lizards' eggs in the wild, and I would think that they would eat them. I'm not positive on that. That's just an assumption, a theory, an idea. And I would just think that if they found that in the wild, if they found other lizard eggs or snake eggs or even bird eggs or something like that, they would actually eat them. But I'm not positive on that. I know for certain that they probably don't find chicken eggs in the wild, so I'd imagine green iguana eggs are somewhat similar there. But in my mind, it would be extra calcium, which I think would be a good thing. So real quick, I'm going to explain exactly what happened here, just in case you were wondering. So on the day that my green iguana laid 18 eggs, I took one of them, I cleaned it off just with water because it had some dirt on it from being laid. And then I tried to feed it to the bearded dragon, and the bearded dragon wasn't interested a whole lot, so I punctured the egg to expose like the extremely yellow yolk, which I wasn't expecting, honestly. And then the bearded dragon ate the whole thing. And then I took 2 more eggs, I cleaned them the same way, and then I put them in a small container and I put them in the fridge. Then waited a few days, fed one, waited a few days, fed the other, and I did the same exact thing. Why I didn't film all 3 feedings, I'm not entirely sure, honestly. I guess I just didn't. I don't know what's up with that. So that's exactly what happened. I tried to spread it out, but obviously I didn't want the eggs going bad, and I didn't save any more eggs because you shouldn't feed your bearded dragon egg all the time. So that's exactly what happened there. I figured it would be alright, like I said, because I think that would be a somewhat natural thing for them to eat other lizards' eggs, or even eat their own eggs, or just not necessarily their own eggs, but other bearded dragon eggs, which I'd assume would be pretty similar to green iguana eggs. But I've also fed Richard a red-eared slider egg, which is about half the size, but is about the same in every other way. I don't think the inside color's like the same yellow, but it's pretty much very similar to a green iguana egg as far as the the leathery outside and kind of how that all goes. So that is exactly what happened. As for how Charlie's doing, she has been eating like a ton since she laid eggs, and she's been super defensive since she laid eggs. And as for the other eggs, they're still in the bottom of her enclosure. So they just kind of fell everywhere, and I added some leaf litter from I took out the trees that were in there, and I think the eggs are actually gone now. Let's look inside. Her water dish needs cleaned out. I'm gonna do that pretty soon. But down here you can see the remains of some of the eggs. So it looks like the yolk's kind of hardened, and now it's really hard. But as you can see, this whole thing's moving with baby isopods. So looks like maybe some of the yolk leached into the soil and kind of kept it together there. So that's what the eggs looked like. And the isopods are slowly eating away at that yolk that's in there. And that's why I just leave these in here, because I knew that the isopods would be interested in eating them, and I didn't want to mess with that at all. So I just left them in there. There's a ton of isopods, but I'm just knocking there's a bunch of poop in that cocoa, what was that, half coconut, and I knocked it over so the isopods could eat it. But it doesn't look like any of the other eggs are really around. It looks like the isopods have eaten them away. And here you can see a bunch of celery, but all the greens I put in this morning are completely gone. I've been feeding her on this piece of bark here, but she's been doing pretty well. And as I said, I need to clean out her water dish, and her enclosure didn't exactly work out how I completely planned. As you can see here, she's been really defensive, not real happy with me, and she's been skinny, which makes sense because she laid 18 eggs and she's like a very small iguana, so that's pretty insane. But the dirt's been super moist because I don't think I made the drainage layer correctly, even though I really tried to. So that's something that I need to work on. And then I took out the plants because I can't exactly keep them alive in here. So she would run all over them all the time, which was really annoying for me. And she was going to kill them. She was really killing that one. And that's actually what all this leaf litter is. It's all the dead leaves from those plants. I took them off, and then I just threw the leaf litter in here. And I need to add more leaf litter, which is another thing. And I have that. I just need to sanitize it. But that's pretty much what's going on with this enclosure. As for Richard, he has been pretty active. He hasn't been acting completely normally, though, and eating completely normally. So we are going to get him into the vet and get a fecal test done as well. And then as soon as we're all clear for Richard, like as soon as we're sure there's no internal parasites, then I can move him into my room, which is really exciting. Like I really want him to be in my room, and then I won't have to deal with this. I might go ahead and paint his stand, but I don't know. Maybe I'll just wait till we figure that out before I go ahead and do that. But he's living in this 55-gallon, kind of unfortunate. If I could move him into my room, I could temporarily put him in my 75-gallon that's just sitting idly in my room, but I don't do that because there's a chance that he's internal parasites, and I don't want to introduce that into my room and Charlie and everything. So for now, he's just the awesome bearded dragon that stays out here, and he is super friendly. So when I eventually get him into my room and I eventually build him a really simple enclosure, actually, it's going to be very similar to how my green iguana's enclosure is, just like 75-gallon size. And essentially my green iguana enclosure is huge, but it's very simple. So there's just a front opening door, the bottom is pond liner, and then the back is expanding foam. And I plan to do the same thing, and then the whole thing's built out of plywood. I plan to do the same thing for Richard, but again, just on the size of a 75-gallon. So once I can eventually do that and have him in that, and I can have front opening doors, he's gonna be out all the time. Like I'll be like sitting in my room and I'll just have Richard out and he can just run around everywhere. He's just gonna be essentially like a free roam animal because he's super friendly and he's just awesome. So hopefully I can get him completely healthy, and hopefully he is pretty healthy. He's been gaining a lot of weight, so that's really exciting. And I'm sure feeding him eggs is maybe helping a little bit, but I've been feeding him lots of roaches and he's been eating a decent amount of greens. So hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I know you didn't get to see him actually eating the egg, but he did lick up the yolk, and he definitely was interacting with the egg. He was kind of looking at me like spitefully while I had him on the ground that time, but he generally has been eating pretty well. So hope that you guys enjoyed. If you did, like down below. If you have any comments or concerns, comments below, and if you have more content, then subscribe. Have a fantastic day.